In 1892, Russian bacteriologist Dmitri Ivanovsky noticed something unusual. He discovered that the cause of tobacco mosaic disease could pass through the pores of a ceramic filter, which typically stops bacteria. Ivanovsky was astonished, but couldn't explain the nature of these mysterious particles. A few years later, Dutch botanist Martinus Beijerinck, studying the same phenomenon, named this substance contagium vivum fluidum, Latin for contagious living fluid. Studying yellow fever, Petar Rič discovered that the disease was transmitted from person to person by mosquitoes, not bacteria. This discovery drew significant attention from scientists, but it took several more key events until 1935, when Wendell Stanley succeeded in crystallizing a virus. This breakthrough allowed viruses to be seen and understood. Tiny and invisible to the naked eye, viruses became clearly visible only with the development of the electron microscope in the mid-20th century. These microscopes revealed that viruses were much smaller than bacteria, ranging in size from 25 to 300 nanometers, while some, like the megavirus, were between 380 and 780 nanometers. Imagine this. If a bacterium were the size of a soccer ball, a virus would be the size of a small ping-pong ball. Chemical tests quickly showed that viruses are primarily composed of RNA or DNA, which was surprising since DNA was then recognized as the carrier of genetic information. In the 1950s, it was discovered that viruses could consist solely of RNA and still be infectious. This demonstrated that both DNA and RNA could be carriers of genetic information. Thus, viruses became known as simple yet highly efficient biological units capable of causing infections. Viruses are unique in that they cannot survive on their own. They require the cells of other living beings to reproduce. Outside host cells, viruses are like dead. This dependence on a host is why some scientists do not consider viruses to be living organisms. In an inactive state, viruses can survive at low temperatures, but once they come into contact with host cells, they immediately activate and start reproducing. Think of them as tiny zombies that come to life only when they enter a living cell. To survive, viruses must move from one host to another. This is a challenging way to live, as their attack and defense systems must be highly effective. If they don't find a new host, viruses die. However, some viruses are very successful in finding new hosts, thus showing an incredible ability to adapt and survive in nature. Transmission of viruses from animals to humans is a particularly significant challenge. For example, the avian flu virus can infect an entire animal, such as a pig, where it mixes with other viruses and becomes even more dangerous to humans. Due to this ability, many flu viruses originate from Asia, where contact between birds and pigs is common. It's like two different viruses merging to create a supervirus. Viruses come in various shapes and sizes. Nanoviruses, for instance, are very small, while viruses like herpes are more complex and have different structures. Laboratory studies have shown that some viruses can enter cells and cause disease, making them highly efficient pathogens. Interestingly, some viruses can cause behavioral changes in their hosts, like the rhabdovirus, which can make insects aggressive, making them more effective in transmitting the virus to other insects. One of the most well-known and dangerous viruses is HIV, which causes AIDS. Scientists are still working to find a cure for this disease, but HIV is particularly dangerous due to its ability to destroy the immune system. Data shows that around 40 million people worldwide are infected with HIV. Similar viruses causing tuberculosis and malaria are also extremely dangerous and significantly shorten human lifespans. One bizarre example is the virus that causes tularemia, also known as rabbit fever, which can survive at sub-zero temperatures. While viruses can cause serious diseases, they also play an essential role in nature. Scientists discovered that viruses can be useful in combating bacteria that cause infections. Viruses don't have an inherent evil intent. Their sole purpose is to reproduce and survive. When natural balance is disrupted, viruses can cause illness. For example, bacteriophages are viruses that attack and kill bacteria, and one such virus is used in treating antibiotic-resistant infections. Viruses are an integral part of ecosystems and have their place in nature. Although they can be dangerous, they also help maintain ecological balance. Scientists continue to study viruses and find ways to protect us from them. But it is also essential to accept that viruses are an inescapable part of our world. There are about 10-13 different viruses, more than the total number of all other living beings combined, including bacteria, animals, and plants. Imagine this. It's like there are 1 trillion viruses for every single human on Earth. Although we know only about 200 viruses that are harmful to humans, they are indispensable in the fight against various diseases, including those they themselves cause. For example, some adenoviruses and parvoviruses can cause cancer, but are also used in genetic engineering to treat diseases. Viruses can even be used in gene therapy to deliver healthy genes into patients' cells. Genetically modified viruses can be perfect carriers of healthy genes, providing new possibilities for disease treatment. Viruses don't have a predetermined evil intent against humans. Their sole purpose is to reproduce and survive. When natural balance is disrupted, viruses can cause illness. One unusual example is a virus that infects bacteria and changes their behavior to produce glowing proteins, making them visible in the dark. Scientists will continue to research viruses and find ways to protect us, but it is also important to accept that viruses are an inextricable part of our world. Instead of viewing them as exclusive enemies, perhaps it's time to see them as part of the natural system that maintains the balance of life on Earth.